This segment is brought to you by St. Martin and Bourke. Know your rights.
Everybody, welcome back into Bayou Time. Harry McCullough here. We're joined by Blake Tabor of the Terrebonne Parish Sheriff's Office. He's got a couple of cases, and boy, you know, both of them, it makes you scratch your head a little bit. But it is what's happening, particularly when people get involved with the internet and downloading different things. But you got a cyber crimes arrest in a parish, and like I said, I guess what y'all find is always kind of disturbing.
It is, and look, this one is particularly disturbing because of the extent of the files that we found. But this was a case that came to be in early September of this year, and it became a joint investigation with NCMEC, which is the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, and also Louisiana ICAC, which is the Internet Crimes Against Children, which is a program that's spearheaded by the Louisiana Attorney General's office. So we work in concert, and as many agencies across the state do, work in concert with those agencies to field these cyber tips that happen. So, you know, ultimately they were able to generate some information that was disseminated to our SVU detectives about a certain person that had downloaded over 66 different unique and individual files ranging from sexual activity with infants up to 12 years of age, which, again, you know, we don't have to elaborate on how disturbing that is. Again, anytime we get this information, there is a multitude of investigation that has to take place from that point on, which our SVU detectives are the consummate professionals at that. And of course, they did that, and they began to link some digital markers and forensic information that determined that all of these files were linked to one particular computer and ultimately one particular address and person. That person was ultimately identified as an Angel Rodas. He's a 25-year-old male from Gray. You see him photographed here. Ultimately, after that investigative information began to show itself, ultimately a search warrant was completed on October 29th of this year at his residence in Gray, where detectives were able to locate some additional evidence and substantiate a lot of the evidence that we had previously going into this particular search warrant. So ultimately, they arrested Mr. Rodas on 66 counts of pornography involving juveniles, and he still remains jailed in our facility on a $100,000 bond by local judges.
Yeah, so when you're making a case like that, now, is it he just gets his hands on his photos, he's trying to sell them on the internet, or is he producing that kind of stuff in this area? You know.
Yeah, sure. It could be a multitude of things. You know, I think a lot of these cyber tips are generated on when people download this information or view this information. You know, and at this point, what people do with it becomes somewhat relevant investigatively speaking. But as it pertains to the law, as long as they are downloading or viewing that information, that is enough to suffice for the criminal charges.
Yeah, I mean, you see a lot of times, you know, you'll have a police officer that acts like he's a 16-year-old girl. Not that that's right either, but, you know, it's to me a little different than an infant, newborn, and a 12-year-old.
Absolutely.
It seems like there's a big gap there. You know?
There is. And look, you know, these cases are so disturbing because just when you think you've seen it all,
right,
these criminals will take it to another level. And, you know, again, my heart goes out to the victims of these children. And, you know, we work relentlessly to try to help identify these children nationwide and worldwide when we can. But, you know, additionally, we have to make sure that our SVU detectives are doing the things that they need to do to take care of themselves and protect themselves. So they're a big concern of ours, but they do a fantastic job, and they just keep plugging away to do what's right.
And last thing, do you think there's any victims locally? Do you know?
At this point, it doesn't appear that there's any locally, but again, this remains an ongoing investigation, and you know we've seen these type of cases blow up into all kinds of things, so there's just no way to tell it.
And it doesn't make a difference, you know, what their address is if a victim for any kind of crime like this. Okay, the next one is human skeletal remains were found.
Yeah, so this came to be last night when our patrol division was made aware of what was believed to be skeletal remains that was found in a wooded area between Alma Street and Richard Drive. If people know, you'll see it photographed here. It's a residential area, so to speak, and you have residences on both sides of this wooded area. They ultimately interviewed the person who reported this incident, And, you know, I think at this point, they're still trying to determine if there's any involvement there. And again, this is a very complex case that is going to require a lot of investigation. But when our patrol officers did arrive, they did confirm that it was the skeletal remains of what is believed to be a human being that was in decomposition. So it had been there for a period of time. And again, you know, it's going to take a while for all those information to come back from the coroner's office, but, you know, certainly they are doing their due diligence there.
And again, I think you just answered it, but do they suspect foul play or?
At this point, I think it's unknown at this point. It could be a multitude of reasons, you know, but at this point, we're not going to rule anything out. And we certainly, in law enforcement, we always investigate things as a homicide first. And we hope that that doesn't come to fruition later.
Skeletal remains, would you be able to say it looks like months, looks like years, you know, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, there is some determination there that you can tell. Now, you know, there's no exact science as to getting that pinpoint down to the exact day or time.
Right, sure.
But certainly they can get within a window, and that's going to be very important when it comes to this investigation. So I know that that's a topic of...
And that would bring you to missing persons. And
correct.
Right?
That's correct.
And then so I guess that time, who missing when they were reported,
that's
and
correct.
the time of that would be
and I think, you know, this is being in its early infant stages. I think over the next couple of days are going to be really telling as it relates to this information once that that data starts coming in from the office.
All right, interesting work, man. So we appreciate it, and disturbing, you know, obviously, but good police work, and hopefully we'll get both cases solved.
That's right. Thank you.
All right, Blake Tabor with Terrebonne Parish Sheriff's Office. We'll be right back with more Bite Time right after this.
This segment was brought to you by St. Martin and Bourke. Know your rights.